There is a point that the world's most successful footballers reach. Not a match, not a press conference. Just that quiet awareness when you glance at your watch and realize time is working against you. Most never bother to say it out loud, but you see it in the way their body moves as they walk off the pitch. Because in that moment, a flood of questions about next season begins to surface in your mind. And then comes that vague, uncertain pause. Cristiano Ronaldo has faced that moment more than once, and every time he walked back out onto the pitch. Now, at 41, he is on his way to becoming the oldest footballer in the world, and while everyone is asking when will he retire, he is heading to his 6th World Cup. But don't get caught up in the numbers. Focus on what all of this means. 6 different international tournaments. And this time, the real question is not whether he deserves to be there. The real question is what he can still give. When selecting the Portugal national team squad, Roberto Martinez did not hesitate for a moment. Despite widespread criticism over the physical difficulties Ronaldo had been experiencing, he included him in the squad, without paying any mind to what anyone else had to say. Shortly after, Martinez said something that would silence all the noise for a while. He said he evaluates Ronaldo not based on what the legend implies he should still be doing, but based on what he actually does for the national team. The moment that subtle distinction was made, it sent signals about what kind of game plan Martinez had in mind. How many goals do you think Cristiano Ronaldo can score throughout the 2026 World Cup? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure you too are eager to watch Cristiano Ronaldo one more time. But there is a big question mark here. There is a significant difference between a 41-year-old Ronaldo and a 27-year-old Ronaldo. He is no longer the player who turned defenses into nightmares all those years ago. And this continues to fuel a strange debate among a large segment of people, a tendency to ignore what he still does and focus on what he no longer does. Ronaldo continues to put up statistics at Al Nassr that would make many younger strikers uncomfortable, despite his age. 28 goals and 3 assists in 38 matches in the Saudi Pro League prove this. Because the instinct inside the penalty box, the positional intelligence, the set-piece threat, none of that has gone away. The only thing he has lost so far is his youth, and there is no solution to that. For instance, I had recently talked about Neymar being selected for the 2026 World Cup. Carlo Ancelotti choosing him despite all those injuries had surprised many people. So, considering that Neymar was selected despite his injuries, Ronaldo's inclusion in the Portugal national team does not seem strange at all. Still, I think many will come with this criticism. But Saudi Arabia is not the Champions League. Yes, the Saudi Pro League may look weak compared to other leagues, but in my view, it has grown enormously compared to its early years. Many star players like Cristiano Ronaldo continue to play there. But you are right, the World Cup is not the Saudi Pro League, and we genuinely do not know how Ronaldo will hold up against a well-organized defense playing at the highest intensity. And, in my opinion, that curiosity is what makes the World Cup even more exciting. Let's go back to 2022 for a moment, because if we want to see how Ronaldo will perform at the World Cup, Qatar is undoubtedly the best reference point. He started the tournament as the leader of the Portuguese national team and one of the biggest favourites. However, that changed when the knockout stage arrived. Against Switzerland, he was on the bench instead of in the starting 11. Gonçalo Ramos started and scored a hat-trick. Portugal reached an energy, a flexibility, and a dimension of danger it hadn't shown in the earlier parts of the tournament. But that danger didn't last long. When Portugal was eliminated against Morocco, the debate that followed wasn't really about tactics. It had become more of a personal matter. The images of Cristiano Ronaldo walking off alone, the moments cameras clearly tried but failed to hide, those became some of the most striking images of the tournament. And in that moment, there was no performance, just a man trying to process something heavy. What happened in 2022 shows how much this World Cup means to him. This is not just another tournament. For Ronaldo, 2026 may be the culmination of something that has defined his entire adult life, and possibly the last time we see him in a national team shirt. How his story will end remains uncertain. Modern sports science has clearly laid out what can happen at the tail end of a career curve. The investment Ronaldo has made in his own physical upkeep over the years seems like an indicator of how far ahead he is still aiming as a footballer. Have you ever seen a 41-year-old footballer with such a powerful physique? In fact, looking at his physique, Ronaldo seems almost on par with how he looked years ago. Still, that physical setback occurring 3 months before the World Cup was a great piece of bad luck. However, according to Martinez, it did not appear to be a major problem. A 41-year-old Ronaldo could recover from such an injury quickly. Perhaps he did. Perhaps by June, all the problems had been resolved. Or perhaps Cristiano Ronaldo was taking a big risk. Truly, everything was full of questions that needed answering. There was a degree of validity in both possibilities. But which possibility was more acceptable? I can't answer that either. There is another topic often overlooked in these kinds of debates. Even though Ronaldo is the first name that comes to mind when you think of Portugal, this team is not made up of just one person. Rafael Leao, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, a squad with genuine depth and quality across every line. And this squad is a perfect option for supporting Ronaldo. Because what Martinez is really targeting is Ronaldo's aerial threat, set pieces, and unexpected interventions in critical moments. Martinez sees this plan as the key to getting the most out of Ronaldo. Do you think Martinez's plan will be successful throughout the 2026 World Cup? Or could it end in a major defeat? Although Ronaldo has scored in every match across 5 World Cups, a quiet story sits alongside that. Ronaldo has never been on the winning side in a World Cup semi-final. Portugal's best finish came in 2006, when he was a much younger version of himself. This is neither fate nor a ceiling, it is simply context. The draw matters. The form of the squad on any given day matters. A deflected shot in the quarterfinals matters. And this year, Ronaldo will fight to win the dreams he has never been able to realize. Beyond what I've described, there is another version where things go well. Portugal gets through the group stage efficiently. Ronaldo makes selective but meaningful contributions. And by the time the knockout rounds arrive, the team is playing with belief. This version is so beautiful that somehow, after imagining it, you become convinced Portugal will lift the trophy. But in another version, there's a moment where Portugal desperately needs a goal. Ronaldo is on the pitch, but can't quite get there. A touch too slow, a touch short. The urgency is there, but the execution doesn't quite match. And from that moment on, you're left alone to face the criticism of the Portuguese supporters. And here is the real question. In both versions, how effective will Ronaldo be? But the core issue isn't whether Martinez trusts Ronaldo. The core issue is how Portugal shapes up by the knockout stage, because the group stage looks like relatively sheltered ground for Ronaldo. The real test was what he would do in the moments where a single wrong step could end the tournament. This was a way of saying that the noise outside does not change the evaluation inside. That's fair. Every coach worth working with has to operate that way. But it also carries a slight defensive tone, which suggests the decision was not entirely uncomplicated. When a manager feels the need to manage public perception before a tournament even begins, it shows how much weight the internal debate carried. And it reveals just how difficult a decision Ronaldo's selection was for Martinez. Ronaldo's career statistics at this tournament are so striking they shock you. In those moments of highest pressure in major tournaments, his last-minute free kick against Spain comes to mind, and the Ronaldo who scored that rescue goal had become an impenetrable wall for Spain. The part that deserves even more attention is how Portugal looks without Ronaldo. Is Portugal weaker or stronger without Ronaldo? That question was answered, at least in a specific context, in the 2022 match against Switzerland. Even in a support capacity, Ronaldo's presence can change the way opposing defenses set up, creating space for the players around him. At 41, consistently meaningful may be exactly the right phrase. Not as the man who decides every match, but as someone who pressures opposing players, who steps onto the pitch when there's a free kick to be taken, showing he plays a key role for his team. A player of this caliber, competing at the highest level at the age of 41, seems determined not just to write his own story, but to inscribe his name among the legends. The tournament will ultimately demand something beyond the narrative. It will demand goals from Portugal at the most unexpected moments. It will demand energy in physically grueling matches. And according to Martinez, Portugal's most important asset is still Ronaldo. He watches Ronaldo in training, in matches, in the moments the public never sees. And in his view, the commentary from outside falls too short to match who Ronaldo truly is. On the other hand, no matter what decisions any manager makes, Ronaldo's selection will not be judged in isolation. What will be judged is how far Portugal advances and how much he contributes. Even though it is clear that Ronaldo needs to move forward with a different perspective and performance compared to his previous 5 tournaments, what matters to us is how he looks on the pitch. Because everything else contains too many variables. Watching someone move with this clarity at 41 carries something almost striking. Not the desperation of someone chasing what they've lost, but the focus of someone who fully understands what is still possible. So, is Ronaldo a burden or a hero for Portugal at this World Cup? Honestly, I'd love for him to be the hero, but it's far too early to say right now. He's a player stepping into the tournament with an extraordinary history, with quality in front of goal that has genuinely endured, carrying serious physical question marks, and someone who couldn't care less about any of that once the whistle blows. After all, what makes Ronaldo worth watching is exactly what this star, who has been proving himself to the world for so long, has always done. And we'll see the answer to all of this in the Portugal-DR Congo match. So don't forget to judge Ronaldo's performance after the match. You can share your score predictions in the comments. In my next video, we'll dive into all the details of how Messi silenced his critics by scoring a hat-trick at the 2026 World Cup. If this kind of content interests you, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.